Ahoy there! So, we finally got those videos coming that everybody's been asking for. The videos of the journey of picking up the Wanderlodge. We did stay an extra day at the owner's house after he picked us up because there was so much to learn. There are several things that we don't advise trying to do, and we did most of those things. Not the least of which is driving a rig you're completely unfamiliar with, cross-country, without a mechanic's inspection. Although we bought it from a mechanic, so that's cool. An upstanding mechanic, by the way. We had a little bit of an adventure as far as fueling it. Sort of overestimated how much fuel I was going to require, because I thought there's no way something this big doesn't take like $1,000 worth of fuel every time you fill it. Turns out I was incorrect on that. That's an adventure in and of itself, because you kind of industrial school bus type thing with this monster tank in the back that I want to say is 225 gallons, and a input about this big that's behind the license plate, kind of 70s car style. And I can tell you right now, it's pretty easy to wear about half a gallon of that diesel if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. Maybe at some point we'll try to film a video of how that works. Probably that's mainly of interest to people that are looking at buying Wanderlodges, which, let's face it, I can't believe more people aren't buying Wanderlodges. But that's another story, another video, and another day. Our goal was to get to Traverse City and stay at the Boondockers Welcome, which is a fantastic setup, and these people we met were great. We're going to leave a link down in the description below of what Boondockers Welcome is and how it works. Our goal was to get there without any mechanical issues, and above all else, make sure we got there while the sun was still up. Because the last thing you want to do is drive into an unfamiliar campground in the dark, especially with an unfamiliar rig. So what we managed to do was unfamiliar rig, unfamiliar parking spot, and with Boondockers Welcome, we're not talking big RV park that's got a bunch of established routes. The owners were great and their spot was great. However, in the dark, getting into their spot was a little unsettling. So, needless to say, you might see on the videos, one really cool thing on the Wanderlodge, it's got what they call landing lights down around the base. Then it's got 2 yacht spotlights up on the roof, which can be controlled from inside the cabin. Actually, all of it can be controlled from inside the cabin. And we used everything to get it parked. And again, the owners were fantastic people. And it was a lot of fun to get to stay there, and it was our first experience using Boondockers Welcome, and that was a lot of fun. So we were driving down the road in Traverse City. That was when, I'm still learning how to drive it. So to make it easier for me to drive it safely, Jen and the GPS decided to route me into every single little teeny tiny neighborhood with these little Midwestern homemade roundabouts and maybe a school zone and who knows what else. And I saw the most beautiful red Corvair Monza convertible. Gorgeous. So we had to pull over and take a look. All right, well, here we are. Saw a car that I absolutely had to take a look at. Oh yeah. That's an automatic. Ooh, that means it's a 6-cylinder. High performance one. Check that out. Got a few runs in the paint, but slick. In addition, we also were driving and we came up on a Cars and Coffee meeting, and we thought, hey, that would be so cool. We're driving this big bus, which it's already 34 years old, but it looks 50 or 60 years old. That would be fun to pull over and do the Cars and Coffee thing. Unfortunately, we lost the footage from that. I do have to tell you, though, I saw the coolest thing ever. A modern Cadillac hearse that was painted white, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. It was really well built, by the way. But on the side, it said, Last Responder, and I just thought that was awesome. I wish I could have gotten a picture of it. So, in this scene, you're going to see us crossing the Mackinaw Bridge, which I did as a child. I was probably about Morgan's age, actually. Jen had never crossed it before. What a bridge. I mean, that should be like the 8th wonder of the world. It is so cool. But here's a little tech tip. If you happen to be crossing that bridge in an RV, right lane concrete, left lane metal grate. Stick to the right lane. You'll see we went in the left lane. As soon as I was over there, kind of regretted it, but I was passing somebody, so anyway, that guardian angel worked overtime even on the bridge. Driving along the North Shore Lake Michigan, we did get to see some beautiful sandy beaches. Sand being the color sand is supposed to be, not, black like we have here, which is fine. Warms it up, but, it was very picturesque. And it was fun, too, because that whole drive, when we were going by all the people who were doing the beach thing, everybody was waving, we were getting the thumbs up. every time I honk those horns, people just smile. Except for Jen when she's standing right next to the bus. But, you know, that's because sometimes I just can't help myself. Stopped for the night at Pictured Rocks in Munsing, Michigan, which was a KOA. Now, I tend to shy away from KOAs. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just kind of, you know, big industrial campgrounds. When we got there, one funny thing with that big Wanderlodge, everywhere we go, everybody wants to put us in a drive-through spot, which leads me to believe there's a lot of people driving big RVs like that struggle with driving them. So far, I'm not bragging, but so far we're doing fine. And so they wanted to put us, I always call it like Skid Row, when you just have a bunch of RVs and pull-through spots. I don't find that attractive. So they were willing to let us go into a back-end spot up back in the woods, which was a lot of fun. So you guys probably want to see more about the bus. Well, that's coming. Right now, let's say we're in the honeymoon stage. And by honeymoon stage, I mean honeymoon like you've never been on a date before, or that other thing. Because I gotta tell you, it's been intimidating. It's an awesome rig. We got to know the owner and his beautiful bride. Spent 2 days at their place. He picked us up in Chicago. And I found out a bunch of stuff like Uber and Lyft are not as easy as everybody makes them say they are. Especially when the folks at the bank say, you know, you're like 4,000 miles away from home and there's a bunch of charges on your card, so we're going to cancel it. And then you step out of the airport and it's concrete reflecting off buildings and cars and cement. And well, anyway, long story short, I was kind of flashbang blinded for a little while, so that was fun. Try to dial up the bank to get your credit card fixed when your Uber and your Lyft aren't working and you can't see anything. For a little bit there, I had full trust in my family. I was sure they weren't pushing me into traffic, because, well, maybe slightly less than sure, but okay, maybe there was no traffic. I don't know. Anyway, here, I'll show you the rig. So here's how things look so far. You know, you got the rig itself. You know, it's not perfect, but it's 34 years old, and it's perfect for us. I guess by RV standards, maybe you'd call this a cougar? I don't know. Anyhow, we get a lot of looks. You know, the same kind of looks you get when, well, we're not talking like when your fly's down or whatever. We're talking like, wow, how'd he get her? You know, that look? I'm quite familiar with that look. The trip itself, it's gone pretty well. Mechanically, it's gone quite well. We've got things a little hot on a hill. Turns out, so Wanderlodges have a whole lot of gauges. And you might think that's a marketing thing, because like, you know how when you buy a fancy watch that's supposed to be durable and it's got 4 screws around the bezel and you know that those screws are plastic. Turns out every single gauge that's on here, it's there for a reason. And if you don't pay attention to those gauges, well, let me put it this way, you better respect those gauges because they don't respect you at all. So here on day 2 or 3, so Munising today, we haven't made a lot of progress on any particular day. So it seems like the miles are not accumulating the way they should be. Hopefully tomorrow that changes. You know, it feels like we're shopping to set up a small apartment or a medium-sized yacht. Because you're buying everything, you know, dishes and the stuff that goes on beds and all that stuff. The stuff I'm in charge of buying is the tools. And quite frankly, I still don't even have a Phillips screwdriver to fix one thing that I need to fix. But we're going to get there. So anyhow, family's holding up. Actually, they're being pretty good sports about it. Turns out Captain Morgan is particularly appreciative of the fact that she can take a nap whenever she wants. Jen, well, her hands are recovering from holding onto the dashboard for the first couple hours. Because, let's face it, we weren't entirely certain how this was going to pan out. But now we're doing pretty well. Cool thing is when you pull in with a rig like that, it's like a homecoming. You know, people started coming up. A couple people were asked, well, I did get a compliment on the whole backing it in thing, but people came up and they asked, like, how old is that? Is that an antique? Probably one of the #1 questions we get is, who did the restoration? Most RVs don't even make it to 20 years old, much less 34 years old. And if they do make it to 34 years old, they're most certainly restored. This is unrestored and original. The other question we get is, who did the conversion? Or did you convert it yourself? And that's because, you know, converting school buses into RVs is quite popular. Totally get it. This was coach built at the factory, so it was never converted. It's fun to explain it to people, and people just, they love it. A lot of people, matter of fact, while I was there, I think I had 1 or 2 people tour the inside. So that's one thing. You want to make sure you put your dirty underwear away when you're driving a Wanderlodge, because people are going to be strolling in and out of there. One guy, when he got in there, he's like, this looks like an airplane. And he couldn't believe how modern everything looked for something that old. It's just fun to show it to people. Which, speaking of the inside, that's our #1 request right now in the Wanderlodge is pictures of the inside. But here's a spoiler alert. They're not coming for a little while because we got to go and film those yet. So our next trip to the mainland, we will make sure to film the inside so that everybody can get the pictures they've been asking for. So hope you enjoy the video. And oh, I had to come out here to narrate because I had to show you it's not always beautiful and sunny in Kodiak. Sometimes it's overcast, but still beautiful in Kodiak. This is where all the green stuff comes from. We got to have the rain. So hope you enjoy the video. Let us know in the comments if there's anything in particular that you want to know about, or if you have any questions about anything that you see in the video. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to click like and subscribe and share.